Cameron, I'm an alcoholic. I love affirmation, but in certain situations it's horrible. Just before I start off, I just want to thank everybody that's in this room that's been a part of my journey. It's actually quite emotional being here now, having gone through everything and seeing my friends sit in this seat here, speak about their 1 year, their milestones, everything that they've been through, and now through working a program and having done certain things, it's actually quite special. I never thought I'd appreciate being here, the way I do now, which is really special. Also, I'm in a lot of denial this morning. I've been telling myself the past week, I'm not nervous, I'll be okay. So emotionally and mentally, I think I'm okay, but like physically, I'm shaking, my heart's in my throat, it's quite a bit of stuff going on. I might ramble a little bit, might be all over the place, but I'm just going to speak and tell my story a little bit. So growing up, I grew up in Zimbabwe for the first 11 years of my life, and childhood was good. Always been very blessed to have the family that I do today. Always had a loving mother, supporting father, and growing up was good. It was a very, very quiet lifestyle, I would say. I grew up in the bush a lot. I'd spend a lot of time, out and about. I was a very, very quiet kid. Didn't really get involved in too much. I was very much into my gaming at that time, and things were very, very simple. And I was comfortable being by myself. There were no signs of me being alcoholic or anything as such as that. I just enjoyed my lifestyle. It was very routine. It was very basic. And then in 2012, we moved over to South Africa, moved to Saltrock and Bonito. And that shift for me, from, having a very, what's the word I'd say? I don't want to say isolated, because it wasn't isolated, but very, very quiet and, sheltered lifestyle, coming into high school now, and into the big city life. Seeing the way people would dress, how people would talk, and all of that, that really, caused a lot of fear for me, and that's when the first, fears of, having to fit in, having to be liked really came in for me. And high school for me it was challenging because, I've never really been academic. I've never necessarily ever been, someone that's been stuck into books or did well, and I always really, really struggled. And I faced lots of teasing and bullying for that, and that always made me act out to, be the class clown, or be the person that's always doing stupid things, jumping out the 2-story building at school to impress people, which really didn't impress anybody because I went to hospital after that. It's just little things like that. I always had to do, absurd things, for attention. I've always been an extreme affirmation seeker. And that also turned me into a social chameleon. So really at a young age, I was really jumping from group to group, which is a very common thing, for me. Very conflicted with lots of feelings and fears and anxiety, wanting to be a part of, but then also being fearful to be a part of because I don't want people to know me, it's just all sorts of things. I'm already hitting my blanks. My first experience with alcohol, I was 14 years old. It was during December. I remember it very well. A couple, me and my friends, just walked into a liquor store, like as kids do, and we got 2 bottles of Smirnoff, and we drank all of that. And my first experience with alcohol, we ended up being chased by an ambulance on the beach because there were 3 kids, constantly blacking out and then waking up and then just walking around. And this ambulance managed to pick up one of my friends, and then the paramedics actually tried to get us, and eventually ended up blacking out again. And then I woke up at home, covered in vomit, and my mom and my dad, surrounding me. And that was at the age of 14. And from that moment, I always remember that warm, fuzzy feeling. It made me feel different, made me feel better, and at that age, I didn't necessarily know that feeling of that black hole of wanting to feel more or have more, the disease of wanting more. I didn't quite understand that, but I did understand that alcohol made me feel a lot better when I didn't have anything. And from there, it was, on the weekends, I would be with friends and I would drink a lot and all of that. And then when I went to boarding school after that, and then, again, my education has always been a bit of a battle for me. I don't know how many schools I've been in and out of, whether it be, me causing problems or, just me failing the school system itself. And my dad had really sacrificed quite a bit, trying to provide, a future for me through school. And when I went to St. Charles College, that's when I started getting involved with substances. And again, I don't know why I even went to school, because I really was a drifter. I always say it, I was that person in the background breaking pieces of my rubber off and throwing them at people. I wasn't involved in sport. Academically, I didn't do anything. So if anything, I was just biding my time, drinking and using on school premises, just wasting time really, And in the future, this did come around to bite me in the ass. But all of this was just making me feel worse. My lifestyle of constantly lying, never doing anything, never taking responsibility for my life at that age, just caused me to drink and use more. And from there, I was really trying to find fixes. And my main fix was always gaming. I did enjoy that, or it was relationships, or my sports at the time. And that's when that constant feeling of always being fearful. My thing is, I'm not scared to do dangerous things. I'm not scared to get hurt. But my biggest fear is, what do people think of Cameron? How do people see Cameron? It's all about perception. And that's where my fear comes from. And that always led me to be arrogant, led me to be prideful, and it caused me to wear masks that made me look like I've got a harder, exterior. I always wanted to be the tough guy. I always wanted to be, that guy you don't want to mess with. And from there, I started, acting out in ways that I thought, people should see me. I was always very resentful and very angry at, people that had bullied me. Because I've always had a big mouth. It's been a bit of a blessing and a curse at times, I would suppose. And through that, I always found myself getting into conflict with, older people or, grades higher than me, or just anybody in general. And, I paid for that, I suppose. I just could never keep my mouth shut. And, people that I had, as a resentment in my head, I would place those onto other people, and I'd box everybody, just assuming that I would know everybody based on their actions, how they would speak. And I got into lots of fights. I've always been very conflicted. I don't like authority. I don't like people that challenge me. And this has all been from a very, very young age. And it just progressed. This 1 year sharing thing is not easy. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I do apologize. My biggest thing is, if I don't make eye contact, I'm too busy thinking of people looking at me. But if I'm looking over there, so I do apologize. I'm just going to try to get into all the good stuff. Sure. There's the blank. I think the main thing for me, I started fixing off. I try not to bring my MMA and all that stuff into my shares or whatnot, because in the past for me it's been very much an affirmation seeking thing. Because my MMA has been an extreme mask for me. It's been a major deflection of who I am. Someone said it in my life story. Something about me hiding inside of a cage, and that's how I, lived my life. And that honestly it is, because for a long time I didn't really want to. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to compete, but I did it because I felt it was the only thing I could do. I felt very typical, like that dumbass in school who can't really read or write or do all of that type of stuff, but he can fight in the cage. I always felt like that. And through that's where I got all of my affirmation. Nothing else mattered other than my fighting. But I did it more so for the affirmation and the approval of other people. to the point where I didn't actually have anything inside of myself to be like, Cam, you can actually do this by yourself. I needed other people to tell me I could do it, and when I couldn't have that, I would drink off that. At the age of 17, 18, I was already drinking every single day, and at that stage of my life, I was failing school so badly. I was overage, and that was embarrassing as well. And just waking up every single morning, having to face, my reality of never taking responsibility for my life, being that guy that's the oldest in the class, still failing school. But then again, it's not like, I can't do it. I just chose not to do it, And whenever I felt like things were getting bad, I would just drink and it would go away. And then it would just pitch up again the next day. And that cycle just continued for me. But yeah, my journey with that, it just constantly got worse and worse and worse. And so did my drinking and my using. And in my last year of school, I was in psychosis, and that was, that was horrible. It really was. I would be in class, I would hear people speaking about me. I'd hear the girls behind me laughing, and in reality, they never were. I think for my last year and a half in school as well, I used to eat in the bathroom all by myself. Nobody really spoke to me. I was a complete arsehole as well. I was a horrible drunk. I was an aggressive person, and it was just because I was just the most fearful person in that whole room. I've always been the most fearful person in the room, and today, I put my hand up and I can acknowledge that. There's no shame in that for me now, because it's the truth. It is. Before coming into treatment, this is really difficult. Jeez, this sucks. Just all over the place. I apologize, it's not structured. My alcoholism, I wasn't able to face, anything at all. Even going through all of my fighting career, I was able to achieve certain things going through all of that. And I think that was purely just based off of my own self-will of wanting to prove people wrong, having a desire to, basically just prove people wrong. And also it was a really good form of affirmation, and that for me that's great stuff. It's really awesome. But before coming into treatment, I had no idea that I had a problem. I thought everything was fine. I really did. Going through that process, I was able to understand certain things, but I wouldn't say I really, bought the program or this new way of life. I was always angry at the idea that, I'm now having to live the life I need to live, not the life that I want to live. Eventually I went out of treatment. I came out of treatment, and I actually didn't believe I had a problem. It's not like I was drinking every day. I didn't drink myself to sleep. I didn't wake up drinking. That didn't happen at all. So with that, I just didn't really, see a problem. And then now with the program, being planted in my head, and then having had relapsed, certain things started to click for me. I started to realize everything that was said in, certain groups in treatment, certain one-on-one sessions in treatment. All of those things started coming back for me, and slowly connecting. And after having had my first relapse, I would say that was probably the worst period I've ever experienced in my life. Because then I just couldn't stop. Having to hide, having to lie, to my mom and my dad and my family, my coaches, my friends. Living and hiding like that was terrible. I used to drink and use to fill that hole, that I used to wake up with, that God-sized hole. I used to drink and used to take that away. But the drinking and the using just made it worse. It just got deeper and deeper, and having to literally crawl around in the dark like a rat, to be able to get the next drink or the next this or that. It's the most shittiest way to live, and there's just nothing I could do to stop it. Always trying to, fill that hole. And I tried with everything. And at one point in my life, I thought I did. I always had to have a relationship. I always had to have that affirmation to feel better. For me, I always had to have a belt, within my sport. I got the belt. And I did it again and I did it again. And it just never did anything for me, just on that constant loop. And I thought at one stage I did have everything, but then again, it was never permanent. It was only ever temporary. And it just got worse again and again and again. It's just little things like, when I had relapsed, that lying and the deceiving to my family, I look back at it now, it's quite crap. Because, I've been home for a week now and I've been spending lots of time with my mom and my dad. And, I look at them and I see how happy they are now, but I can also look back and see what I did to them, about a year and a half ago. And, it really does make me, feel a lot of gratitude, towards everything that has happened and come through now of it. At least this only happens once a year. Flip, man, this is really hard. How are we doing for time there? Still quite a bit of time. Jeez, this is... I'm trying to avoid war stories and all of that. I'm trying to just, build a little backstory. And then I want to speak about recovery. I want to be, more in tune with all of that. I think a very big part of my journey as well has just been, around my fear. And, with that fear stemmed a lot of anger. And with that anger, I found myself, hurting a lot of people. And that's something that, it does affect me quite a bit today, I do fight, I do compete, but, I take no pleasure in hurting people, but unfortunately that's been a really big part of my story, based on my resentments, my ugliness, and my insecurities, I'm going to mention this just because it's honest and it's genuine. I don't speak about it a lot, but it just speaks about, where my disease took me, purely based on fear. Having, fighting out in clubs and all of that, it only got worse, to the point where I nearly took somebody's life outside of a bar. And, that for me just shows me where my drinking and where my life was taking me. It just constantly got worse and worse. And, I love that thrill, that feeling, and that affirmation, but, it only ever got worse. And my thing with all the affirmation and validation, all of that, it led me to want to be with a certain group of people that would give me more of that. And, living that type of lifestyle, only ever, increased or fueled my addiction. I'm just going to skip the recovery now. So having been, through treatment again, been in the halfway house, it's been a very, very special journey for me, having to learn this new way of life, adopting and using spiritual principles to the best of my ability. I still struggle today. I'm still very arrogant. I'm still very prideful. One thing I do battle with, and my sponsor does come down on me with it, is just, my general chirping and my banter. I do struggle with that. I do tell people to get hit by buses at certain times and all of that. I do apologize. I just have a big mouth and I really struggle with it. It's not really coming from an ugly place, but it's just something I need to be mindful of, and I do practice it, and I do try. It does come from me quite often, but I do my best. But I think the biggest thing for me today that I can feel in my heart and in my life is, today I have found my solution, and that solution has been God for me. Always wanting to have that God-sized hole filled, whether it be alcohol, substance, relationships, success in my sport. It never ever worked, it never lasted, and it never changed anything in my life. But today, having had, spiritual experiences, spiritual awakenings, having a relationship with my higher power today, things are good. I have a conscience today. I have a desire to be better every day. I still make my mistakes. I still do wrong things. But, having had, having a higher power work in my life today, I'm happy today. I don't wake up anymore with that anxiety. I did this morning though, but that's for obvious reasons. But I don't wake up with that confliction anymore. I'm not angry anymore. I don't get aggressive anymore. I don't have those things going on for me. And having that alone from the program and being in recovery, going through treatment, the halfway house, it's all been so incredibly worth it. And the experiences and everything that has happened is, I hold it very dear to my heart. Especially walking, a journey with specific people. Because I'm always going to be walking on a path that's been paved for me from a higher power. But the people that get placed in it, I don't believe in coincidences and luck. Before having my solution, I always believed in luck and coincidences. But now, having an open mind and being a little bit more awakened to certain things, it's never been like a coincidence. Because nothing happens in God's will by mistake. And I truly believe that today. And I really don't know what to say, other than the fact that, there's a lot of gratitude. There's a lot of, things I can reflect on that, I'm really happy about. I'm really glad about. This is tough. I'm going to call it. This is so tough. And this serves me right because I hardly ever share during the week. And now I have to do a 30-minute share. This is like I'm getting butchered out here. I fought in front of the whole world before, and that's okay. And I come here, and it's so difficult. And I know why it's difficult, because I'm genuine and I'm here. This is myself. I'm not somebody else, putting a mask on or something. So at least I can appreciate that. What can I say other than the fact that, without this program, without, going through treatment, I wouldn't be here today. Without living this way of life, I wouldn't be here. And the things that have come for me through doing this have been amazing. I'm able to, not freak my mom out so much. I still do, but, at least things are getting better. Today I have a relationship with my dad. He actually speaks to me. We joke now, which is really special. My little sister, who I love very much. I've got a good relationship with her today as well. I get very annoyed with her and frustrated. She's literally just like me, which is very concerning. So we have to keep the reins on her. I'll tell you now, there's no joke there. I also have a job. I'm starting my first full day tomorrow, which is incredible. I was praying for a job, and I was very, very content with it. Whether I get the job, whether I don't, I'm going to be happy either way. Because if I don't get it, then obviously I'm not supposed to go there. Another door will open, and it's like I'm going to keep mentioning this, but without a higher power in my life, honestly, I would not be here today. I wouldn't, because through having that higher power, I'm able to, see things that I could never see before. I'm able to hear things that I could never hear before, and I'm so grateful for that. I really, really am. But life has been good. The gifts have been coming through for me already at this 1 year, and I've been blessed with a car. My family welcomed me back to the home, which is good. I think I should leave soon, just for obvious reasons. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. What can I say? Life is good. And it's not good just because it's good, I've been able to put the action in it. And, I know there will be times where I might falter or things will get hard. As long as I work this program, regardless of, what is around me, and I just get stuck in, things will be okay. And that's something that I really want to strive to be able to do. Because my entire life, everything I've ever done has been dictated by how I feel. And I've always acted on that. There's so many things I've thrown away, so many things that I haven't done because I didn't feel like doing it, or I felt scared, or I was fearful. And all I want from recovery, one thing that I do want, other than the fact that, it's the right thing to do for me, but one thing I do want is just to be able to persevere, through that shitstorm. When everything's going to hell, I don't need to worry about how I feel, but rather just do what I need to do, based off principle or integrity. And, as time's going on, it's slowly increasing. I'm not 100% there yet. I don't think I ever will be, but that's okay. I have God to help me with that. So yeah, I do apologize. I was a little bit all over the place, and I'm also saying sorry a lot, which I need to look at. But yeah, I'm really grateful that everyone's here. It's been quite an experience. And again, thank you for everybody that's been a part of my journey. And I love you guys very much. And thank you for putting up with me. I do appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.